the 26th, 1983. On the far side looking down to himself as Sam called it.
All the class members come down and vote. Come down and vote.
Okay, then push it off again. That's the red button.
Lloyd Lynn in the middle of this.
We gotta get that Lloyd Lynn.
Doug, you may need to get back a little further. I don't know.
You want us up here at all? Can you get us all
Hey, okay. We're ready. 1, 2, 3. Nobody smiled. Nobody smiled. Not a little bit. How come you're standing behind that?
But anyway, this is the team. Yeah. Back is, I think, I'm carrying over. So where's it starting?
Beginning.
Those you hungry kids.
My dad was in there too, wasn't he? He used to fight in the creek. 30 days. We got it.
This way. Peter Reed and Eunice Murray.
Before you pick up this little paper inside of your diploma, I wonder if any of you can tell them what the speaker was at your graduation. We already see you out here.
We were fooling around, you know, he actually
I know she is.
Good job, Anthony.
When I was in high school, I had a different impression.
I better get down this line here.
Well, I did too.
Yes, clean up after me. He's my cleanup man.
Harold M. Lundell. There's a sequel to that. Because of the winning of this team, this was really a prestigious contest. I don't think there's been a school in the state of Utah that won this contest before. It was the national judging contest, was won in Kansas City by these three kids. Neil was a member of that. Because of that, Harold M. Lundell was offered numerous jobs. One of them was to be assistant superintendent of the state of Utah. One was to be a coach of the agriculture college in Colorado, various places. He was a real popular teacher. We had a family here that was really proud of Harold M. Lundell. Every kid that come along by the name of Noel wished had been two classes by Harold M. Lundell. So superintendent said to Mr. Noel, what would you do if Mr. Lundell moved? I just put my kids in the buggy and follow him.
closely, any of you who have felt left out in the program tonight, if you listen very closely, you'll hear your name, unless your name happens to be Anderson or Hodgkinson. You've already heard those two. 1935 in retrospect. A bunch of fellows were sitting at a table in the basement of the Lamro Hotel, dealing out cards and making bids. "It's your play, Lewis," said Morris' son Perry. "Sorry, I've been trying to hatch up a plan for us to go hunting tomorrow morning." "I can take my Model T," said Merrill. "It will hold most of us." "Perry and I will ride our horses," said Peter's son, Reed. "William's going too. He can ride along with us. I took my nag to the smith and had her shot." "We can meet at that knoll above Dryford, where there's a bunch of oaks and quakies," said Alexander. "That birch will do to tie the horses to." I'm a good walker," said Lewis. "I'll head up through Merkley Park and meet you." "I'll go with you," said Richard's son Murray. "Why, landman, you better not," said Peter's son Reed. "You've got that hacking cough, and your heart will give out on you." "I suggest you take your fishing pole, Lewis, in case some bass come by on Ashland Creek," said Perry. "I know fishing season's over, but the marshal will never catch us." "My wife will get some grub ready," said Merrill. "I just called her." "Jer will go too with us too," said Alan. "Oh, and let's take Mac along. He's a good cook." "You mean Mac Conkey?" "He is a good cook, all right. Makes the best coleslaw." "We better take a camp bell, too, to wake us up for breakfast." Lewis went to the window and looked out. "As sure as I'm Jorgen's son, we'd better put a curfew on this game if we're going to be off at 5. "I took my grain to the mill yesterday," said Merrill. "The miller, Oryx, told me there was some real good hunting up there." "We won't need to worry about water," said Perry. "We can get it at the Caldwell." "But we'd better take along some of that good Bingham in case we don't get any fish or game." "Robert's wondering what we'll do if we get snow," said Alan. "I'm taking my all-red flannels. But it appears to me we could sit around the campfire and sing Christmas carols. You know, Deck the Hall and some of those others." "There's an old cabin up there," said Lewis. "But the last time we tried to get in, it had lock on the door." The men had barely set up camp when a man wearing a strange uniform appeared on the scene. "A begging your pardon." "I'm the Duke Milliken. We live in the Brim Hall just outside Blackburn. In England, of course. I was out hunting with the king and I'm afraid I've lost him." "The king!" exclaimed Merrill. "Alan, have you seen a king around here?" Watkins, did you?" Alan asked the Duke. "Actually, none, but I've bowed and scraped with him till I'm tired of it. Nonetheless, I must be off and find him, so toodaloo." Just then Lewis came in with a creel full of steelheads and rainbows. "I sweat, man, carrying these up that last 2 miles," he said. The cast iron frying pan came out on the grill as someone called for the cook, and the fish were soon sputtering and browning. Merrill bent over to smell the fish. "Look out for the marshal," he laughed, and looked right up into the face of the marshal. "I reckon you fellers know fishing season is past. I'll have to take these in for evidence." I don't know nothing about it, said Magpie. Marshall, sputtered Lewis, you know that Ashley Creek is almost running dry. Them fish was throwing themselves out on the bank. I just killed them to keep them from dying. Did you come all the way up here just for this? Matter of fact, said the marshal, I'm looking for a couple of escapees. They robbed a costume shop and they may be passing themselves off as the king and the duke. The king has a long beard. Here's the summons. What's it worth to you, Marshal, if we lead you to them? There's a big price, $1,000 reward on their heads. $1,000, shouted Merrill. Men, did you hear that? Let's go get them. Well, they made quite a sight, those grown-up men clinging to the sides of the Model T. It took quite a while, but they caught the culprits, all right, and collected the reward. Meanwhile, Mac the cook went out and shot an Angus yearling, by mistake, of course. There was only one twitchell in his tail. It was getting close to dark, and a frog was Levert. We celebrate back into camp. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a true story of what happened in Vernal in that great graduating year, 1935.
All worked in somehow. We appreciate it. First of all, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight. It makes you feel good to get a good turnout like this. I've had the responses from about 12 who just wanted to come so badly, but they, most of them were ill. Some of them had other commitments, but they really wanted to come. So we appreciate their responses. We appreciate having Ralph and Marcel and Mr. Wynn join us tonight. It's been a long time since we've seen him. We see Ralph quite often, but he's one of us, always has been. I never forget when I took type from him. I'd sit there and type, and my arms go out like this, and Ralph would come along, put my arms back to my side. And I want to thank Ruth and Elizabeth. We just called them out in Provo and turned them loose in Provo. Let them go. And they brought us this nice program.
What would we have to do to get a copy of that last reading?
I got some copies.
You have copies for all of us?
Not all of you, but I'll make them.
Thanks.
Thanks. And now I want to thank the committee. I think in all of the classes, graduating classes, you won't find a group of people who are so willing to help and so faithful and ambitious as what we have in this class. Now, first of all, there is Shirley and Evelyn that have stood by. Evelyn works right along with Shirley in everything, backs him up. And they helped out with all of the correspondence, and Shirley's taking care of the money for us. In fact, I've seen him walking down the street a time or two, and I swear he had an NJ Mars strap. Sammy's like a one-man band. He took care of the meat and the buns. He served it. He helped with the melons. He hauled everything down to the quarry today. Hauled it all right to the melon bus today, and he's just worked his head off. And that's why I say he's so quiet tonight. He's worn out. But, Lucille sang to the doctor one day for a checkup, and the doctor checked him over and said, you know, Sam, you need 3 bypasses. Sam says, 3 bypasses? What for? He says, you need to bypass the refrigerator, you need to bypass the cake, and you need to bypass the chocolates. country club tonight. He's a big shot down here, I think. And I'm sure he went out and punched the beef that they served us tonight. We could have gotten a tender piece of beef like that if he hadn't, I'm sure of that. And Florence did all of the decorating in here, and all of this memoriam and this, and our place settings and everything. She did it all by herself, just like a little red hen. But she told my thunder I was going to tell that little story on her that she told on herself tonight. So keep her company, don't we? Then Helen's a quiet little soul over here, and she helped to address all the envelopes and all this beautiful writing on these certificates is what Helen did. And she comes to the meetings and she has very good suggestions and gives us a lot of support. And she went to the doctor one day, got feeling sorry for herself. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, what seems to be the matter? She says, oh, my back aches and my ankles stiff and my ears thumping. She said, I just don't know. The doctor patted her on the shoulder, and he was a poor soul. He said, you must be exceptionally healthy to withstand all of that pain. Then there's good old Shirley Price. We go to a meeting and plan on something, and he takes an assignment, and the next day he called me and he had it all done. Shirley is just a real worker and supporter and faithful. You can rely on him all the time. And he went to the doctor one day too. I don't know why we've got all these doctor jokes. It must be all right. But anyhow, the doctor looked him over and he mentioned a few things. And finally, Shirley said, well, doctor, how sick am I in dollars and cents? The doctor told him, and he looked at the accident and he said, I think that money could be better spent, don't you? Helen said yes, so they went out and bought him a new car. Then the curfew, well, at our first meeting this spring, we mentioned the watermelon. He said, I'll furnish the watermelons. So we just all left it to Dee to furnish watermelons. Well, about 3 weeks ago, he called me and he said, Grace, I want you to come down and look at my watermelon patch. He said, I just don't think they're going to be ready. So Butch and I went down, and Dee and I took us up to his watermelon patch, which is hidden incidentally up in the farm patch where it'd be hard for you to find if you could ride. But anyhow, Dee and I went thumping down through the watermelons. And Butch and Robert are sitting up there watching every thump. We got through and we decided maybe that they weren't going to get ripe. But anyhow, you know, Dee was a bishop, I believe, once upon a time, and I'm sure that he knows the Sermon on the Mount. But he told me that he was going to go pack out and go up in the Bollies and go fishing. And I know better. I know he packed out in the Bollies and prayed for those watermelons. Then David took care of all the beverages. Boy, did we have beverage, didn't we, David? and the pictures, it was his son who took all the pictures, and they turned out beautiful. But I could see poor old Felda and David out there with that storm last night, the only storm we've had in all year long. And their son going to take the pictures, and I could see a cloud over their eyes, figuring that those pictures were going to be bad, but they turned out beautiful, so thank you. Then Theda is always the author of our letters, clever as she can be with them, and works it out just fine. We never have to worry about it. But just when we got in high gear for this reunion, Lee got sick on her. So she took her and come out to a specialist, and they gave him one of these $1,000 examinations and a $750 examination, and so on down the line. Finally, Dr. LeVay looked at him and he said, Lee, I hate to say this, but you're going to have surgery. Lee said, well, doctor, I want another opinion. The doctor looked at him and said, okay, you're right. Wonderful barbecue.
all in favor of it?
When are you gonna have it?
Let's not wait 3 years.
Maybe 6 months? 6 months of snow, we do your teeth on Donner's stuff. We'll come down to your house. Okay, we come to mine. Well, someone make a suggestion.
Should we try for next year or the year after?
3 years.
2 years. Not 3.
3 years.
2 years.
3
Take a
years.
vote.
All who favor 2 years, raise your hand. All in favor 3 years? 2 years it'll be. Now, another thing, is this too late in the year? Would you prefer it a little earlier or what? We don't know whether we made a little mistake by putting it so late this year or not.
Be a little earlier in the evening or a little earlier in the
No,
morning?
and this
You're too young to ask that.
Is this a good time of the year for all of you?
The watermelons are right.
Does anyone suggest any earlier than this?
This is a good time.
Well, shall we plan for August?
We haven't got
2
kids in
years from now?
school.
3 years from now?
2.
2 years.